just needed to be opened up a little bit.
It was shorting some fluid out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's wet down in there. It squirted out of this area.
Did we break something?
Yeah, it's water. It's antifreeze.
Horrible investment, but better than the stock market, I guess. Welcome to Hoovies Garage, the dumbest automotive channel in all of YouTube. And finally, we are going to start working on my 2006 Lamborghini Murcielago. But the delay isn't by choice. Really, we couldn't get started because we didn't have the right tools or the right computer, I guess, which set us back a lot of money. But before I get into that, if you guys haven't been following, this is my 2006 Lamborghini Murcielago Roadster. It was the cheapest running and driving Murcielago Roadster in the USA, but there's a good reason why it was so cheap. The clutch is slipping badly, and the transmission makes the worst noise in the world in first gear. Once you're in second gear, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, it shifts and sounds just fine, except for the clutch slipping under load. So something catastrophically has failed inside of first gear. We verified this when we drained the fluid and discovered a lot of metal bits inside the pan of the transmission. So I've ordered a complete replacement. It is here along with a new clutch, which is also here, but we couldn't get started until we got this thing. And it has been quite a journey to find a computer to talk to this Lamborghini Murcielago. The Car Wizard did a detailed video on everything he did to try and get it going with the Russian hacked versions and all that. And finally, we just gave up and we had to buy a very used old version of a proper Lamborghini diagnostic computer. Because without it, we can't program the new clutch or do a lot of things once we get the new transmission in. So doing the job here would have been pretty pointless because I would have had to ship it off when it was all done. So in my hands is a very old computer that cost over $7,000. So I had to come up with a way to pay for this, so let's get to today's sponsor. I'd like to thank Keeps for sponsoring today's video, which has revolutionized the way men are treated for hair loss. With Keeps, it's easier and more affordable to get treatment for your hair loss and keep the hair you have. What used to be a doctor's office visit for a hair loss prescription is now as easy as visiting a doctor online with Keeps and getting your medication delivered directly to your door. 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the age of 35, so early prevention is key, as the sooner you start using Keeps, the more hair you can save. Keeps offers scientifically proven treatments that can combat the symptoms of hair loss. You don't have to go broke to avoid going bald either, as Keeps offers generic versions of popular FDA-approved hair loss treatments, some of which you may have tried before, but never at this price. 66% of men will experience hair regrowth with Keeps treatment. So if you're ready to prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/Hoovies or click the link in the description below and receive 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/Hoovies. Now, let's start tearing into this Lamborghini. Well, actually in a little bit. First, I'm going to rant about computers. So this is the Wizard's rear end, and this is my 1991 Bentley Turbo R, but really, it could be a 1975 Bentley Turbo R, and it's really the same technology. Really old school Bosch mechanical fuel injection. Just, it looks like an old battleship under the hood. And we are chasing a misfire issue, and it is kind of hard to figure out because there's not really a computer to tell you what's wrong, right, Wizard?
Right. It's only under partial load. It feels like it's just missing. You can barely feel it. But I don't know if it's in the injection system, the ignition system. It could be a throttle position sensor. It could be the flap inside of here just getting stuck, or there's nothing. You can't hook a computer to this.
So it takes some proper mechanicking to figure out. And you'll be able to figure out eventually, but it's much harder, it's much more time consuming. So the advent of an engine computer that can diagnose all this for you, tell you what the fault codes are, is a welcome change coming in the mid-90s, which we'll go over to Camaro, which is a mid-90s car. So this is my 1993 Camaro, which is still an OBD1. It has a basic computer in it, right? Like flashing lights or whatever.
Yeah, if you want to read codes, you can watch the flashes of the check engine light. The dealership would have had something to connect to this to read data, but nobody has that anymore.
Right, but by 1995, so basically what this Camaro looked like, there was a universal code scanning setup, OBD2, which is still pretty much used to this day.
Right.
And any mechanic could plug in their computer and get codes for this car and fix it themselves. It was the glory days of automotive repairs, really, probably the mid-90s until the mid to late 2000s. But around that time, these manufacturers got wise to the fact that why should we let any mechanic have access to our software to fix our cars? Why don't we force people to come to dealerships to have the cars fixed there, because independent mechanics can't have the computers, the diagnostic software, just make it really expensive, which is what's happened to us on the Murcielago. Oh, before we go over there, tell me what's going on with the Camaro.
We got a new water pump. We took the timing cover off and replaced all 3 seals on it because I know those are going to fail. Your water pump looked like it was already starting to fail. We got that replaced. We got your AC working. We still have your window to get done. We're going to get some new tires put on it, but we got all the leaks taken care of. Transmission's been done, gone through.
So the barn find is close to being a driver.
Yes.
All right, let's get back to the Murcielago. So like I said earlier, the Wizard did a very detailed video on this process we went through to get a computer, but in the end we ended up just having to buy one from a source that sells used Lamborghini, is it Lara, like Tomb Raider Lara Croft computers?
No, Lara.
Lara, okay.
And LDAS is the engine portion of the...
Okay, well, give us a tour of this computer, this 10-plus-year-old looking tough book with a handle that cost us $7,000.
$7,000. It has an automatic mode, analysis mode. So here's the screen. The last screen I had, I was looking at the measured values of the E-gear, and 5 to 6 millimeters of wear is about the maximum you want to see on one of these. Yours is actually at 11.
11?
I don't even know how you got here.
Well, it was slipping pretty bad, and just moving it around here was not a pleasant experience. So I can definitely tell that it's messed up, but it's twice beyond the maximum wear.
Right. So in a percentage-wise, you're like minus 50%. You're like way beyond.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad this thing's able to talk to it, because we will need this later once we get the thing all back together to program the transmission.
Yep.
We have the used transmission and the new clutch, but if we can't get all this to work with the computer, then this is all pointless. All pointless. But now we're ready.
We're ready. We got the whole setup. I went through and did a snap test. I did actuator test. It all works. It talks.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, what's the first thing we should do?
First thing we should do is get a position on a lift and start pulling stuff apart on the back end.
Before we get started, Wizard opened this box and I just had to show it to you. Look at this beautiful clutch and pump.
It's the E-gear pump, yes.
The E-gear pump. So I got these from High Tech Exotics, and they're an aftermarket supplier of Lamborghini parts, but they solve the issue of clutches burning up every 10 or 15,000 miles by making these heavily updated, beefed up Kevlar clutches. So not only is it an affordable alternative, but it greatly lengthens the life of the Lamborghini clutch and improves resale value. And these pumps love to burn out as well, so it's kind of a while you're there kind of thing.
There's a sensor, a relay, a rear main tail, a pilot bearing, all kinds of stuff in here.
It's going to be a while before we get that in there, though.
Yeah, it's going to be a while before we get to that point.
Let's get to step one, though. So all this prettiness is going to come off, and then I just realized these bat wings, they're stuck up. They don't flap like they're supposed to, open and close. So maybe as we take things apart, we'll discover why that is, how it is. It is.
Definitely look into it and see what's going on.
It is. So should we start with this bonnet here?
Bonnet.
Yes. Now we have a naked engine. Well, kind of. It's got a jungle gym around it, a cage.
Yep,
And Wizard is feeling carbon fiber right now.
Looking for fasteners.
We have to be so careful because pretty much every single part in this car is like $10,000. Which is why we hauled the bonnet upstairs immediately, so neither of us field goal kicks the thing and breaks it in half, which is a very distinct possibility because I'm working on cars. This is the most expensive thing I've ever touched. Yes. So underneath this dented up thing is an exhaust.
That's correct.
Probably a factory exhaust. This is just a heat shield for it.
Yep.
Very dirty engine bay. Could
It
use
is.
a lot of detailing for sure. Oh yeah.
There's your little electronics to raise your spoiler.
Yes. How much do you think that part is? 20 grand?
Who knows? Probably at least 5 a piece.
And here's more heat shield. You got that coming?
Yes, behind door number 1, we have power steering and a coolant reservoir.
And part of a bat wing.
Yes.
I got this ready to come off too, this cooking pan here. Oh yeah, it's loose. Here, film me doing action. Can I do one thing? Yes!
That doesn't look stock.
Wow! Tubey style exhaust, yes! Same as my Gallardo. Cool. It's too bad this beautiful exhaust has to be covered up by this thing that looks like a pizza delivery thing to keep things warm.
It definitely does, doesn't it?
Well, okay. That's a lot out of the way.
Tubey exhaust.
You really can't see much with this bat wing though. What are these blue balls right here?
Those are vacuum reservoirs.
Oh.
But we'll be taking off that.
Alright. So now I have a bat wing that flaps.
Well, if you went down the road now, it would
It just rattle like that, but
smash to pieces.
yeah, these are supposed to open up under speed, I think. Whoa.
You just be careful.
Right? Or when it needs extra cooling.
Right.
But mine are just open all the time, which I'm told isn't good for it. So this little rod that goes up here is what makes the bat wings deploy, and it is stuck up for whatever reason.
We won't need to take these off to diagnose and figure out what's going on with that.
Okay.
They can stay where they're at.
Nice. All right, so we just need to keep tearing into things, huh? Wizard has moved on to the exhaust now, which I'm completely useless with. It's pretty though.
Yep, taking this stuff is tedious. There's all the bolts are rusty and crusty, and there's lots and lots of bolts.
Oh, those are some big tips.
Yeah.
Easy there. Well, but how heavy is that thing, Wheezy?
It's not too bad. It's like a little octopus.
Yes. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There we go.
Past this. It's kind of like fitting puzzle pieces out.
Like putting the MS Apollo 911. Oh! Yay! That is so pretty. And now look at this thing. This is the definition of mid-engine, because really, I could go stand in this thing right now.
Yep.
Here we go. Standing inside the car, and the engine isn't even out. The engine's right here, and then you're pretty much sitting right beside the transmission. So it's it's straight piped, Wizard.
I think we should hear it.
Yes, I agree, but not with me standing in here though. Yeah, let me get out. It's quiet. That's a little better. It just needed to be opened up a little bit.
It was shorting some fluid out. For some
Oh,
reason.
really?
Yeah, it's wet down in there. It squirted out of this area.
Did we break something?
No, we didn't break it.
Did it break itself?
I think so. It just squirted out of
The water pump just decided right at this moment to... Is it watery?
Yeah, it's water. It's antifreeze. I think it's where the... I don't want to put my hand on that. Like the thermostat or something in there. I think it's a thermostat housing.
So the thermostat just failed.
Well, the thermostat didn't, but the housing gasket did.
Well, car, I guess if you're gonna brake, I'll pet its toupee. Now's a good time to do it, not after the engine goes back in, because then that would have been bad. So is that thermostat thing, is that your fault? Anything we did?
I knew you would ask that. Especially if anyone else's car, if I would have worked on it. All we did is pull some panels and exhaust off.
Right.
We didn't even work on the cooling system.
Yeah, we weren't even within a foot of that area.
And you know what the common statement would be here? It didn't do that before I brought it to your shop.
Huh. Well, so I've just triggered Wizard a little bit. Huh. Well, since I've helped you out and got the bulk of the work done, you'll probably have this car apart and back together in a few days, I imagine. Yes?
Not in a few days.
Yes?
But yes, I will keep chugging along on it.
There's a lot more to do.
Tons.
And once the engine is out, then you can reach the transmission, split it apart, replace the clutch, put it back in, program it. It's, what was it, 30, 40 hours? What was the book time or something like that?
I think it's like 36.
36, yeah. That's a lot. And then I'll have the, not the cheapest running and driving Murcielago Roadster in the USA, but it'll be fixed and driving nicely.
Usable, drivable one.
A great asset to have in this times that we're having right now.
Yes.
Horrible investment, but better than the stock market, I guess. Thank you for watching.